So I need you to come into this mindset that no matter what, I don't care what comes your way, come hell or high water, you ain't going nowhere. You're going to see the fullness of your God. You're going to work and toil with your hands for the promises that God has given to you. Why? Because you was loving your Savior so much that it only a couple days seemed like it passed. Listen to me. I ain't talking like hearsay from you. I'm talking personal experience. We've been at this game 15 years, and I ain't seen the promises of my God come through. I'm just being for real with you. I ain't seen them. 15 years we've been going at this, and we barely get a crumb to eat on, right? 15 years, and you saying, what you doing? I'm waiting on God because it may not be able to be given to me in 15 years. Let me show you Jacob. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Let me finish this story with you, right? You remember the promise that Jacob had when he first started? He says, I'm going to give you the descendants to go to the west and the east, to the north and the south, like the sands of the seashore is going to be your lineage. And what's he do when he leaves Uncle Laban? Like, I'm just being for real. What's he do? He comes back with 2 wives, all total 12 children. And here's the whole pinnacle of this. Watch what I'm talking about. Genesis 32, verses 22 through 30. That night, God's calling him back, right? He's left Uncle Laban's house. 20 years later, he's coming back. That night, Jacob got up and took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 sons and crossed the ford of the Jabbok. After he had sent them across the stream, he sent over all his possessions. So Jacob was left alone. And a man wrestled with him till daybreak. When the man saw that he could not overpower him, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip so that his hip was wrenched, and he wrestled with the man. Then the man said, let me go, for it is daybreak. Let's look at this baby. But Jacob replied, I will not let you go unless you bless me. The man asked him, what is your name? Jacob, he answered. The man said, your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome. Jacob said, please tell me your name. But he replied, why do you ask me my name? Then he blessed him there. Let me show you what it is. 20 years prior, God met him while he was laying on the rock as a pillar, right? Met him, gave him this promise. And God knew for a fact that 20 years later, he was going to bring this boy back to this river, and he was going to meet him there. Why? Because the boy he sent away was a heel grabber. The one that was coming back was a contender, was a fighter. He couldn't bless him with a blessing then. He had to wait. He couldn't do it in 19 years. He couldn't do it in 18 years. He had to let him toil for Rachel for 14 years, work another 6 to get the flocks. Why? Because he was not ready until the 20-year mark, until he came back and he wouldn't give up. He wouldn't let go until he got the blessing. He was no longer a heel grabber holding on to another coming out. He was coming out himself. He was the one wrestling with God, and he would not let go. Where are you at tonight? Like, I'm just asking you, where are you at? Are you willing to let go? Because if you're ready to throw in the towel, you ain't ready for the blessing yet. God could not bless this man until he could become a contender, a fighter that would not let go until he had the blessing. I'm just being for real. Like, I ain't even talking about physically hold. I'm talking in heart. You ain't letting go. I don't care what happens. You ain't settling for just like riding someone else's coattail, being a little heel grab. You're going to fight for everything that God has. You ain't settling for no clothes and food. You get the fullness of the nations God has promised you. And you go fight for them, and you don't let go. God could not bless Jacob in 19 years. He couldn't. It takes time. But at the right time, God fulfills his promise. And that's what I want to encourage you with tonight. That is what I want to uplift you with tonight. You hold on. Because at the right time, your God will